Morning, everybody. It's Nick. Yeah, quite a battle-weary and exhausted Nick, which might seem a bit indulgent, actually, even allowing myself to use those words because I'm not a frontline worker. I'm not a key worker. I'm in semi-lockdown at home with our 3 kids, and it is really hard and it is really knackering, and I think that the initial adrenaline and adjustment phase has gone now, and it kind of feels like you're entering that groundhog phase there. I don't know if anybody else feels it, and the level of energy, particularly mental energy, that's required to keep the show on the road, to try and create some kind of structure to the day, to try and ensure that the kids are still being able to live their life, still being able to get something out of it, because even in amongst this pandemic, none of us ever know how long we've got. We don't ever really know what tomorrow brings, and we may be in lockdown, but that doesn't mean, well, for me certainly, it doesn't mean putting life on hold, stopping living. It means that we need to live in a different way. But I have to say, there is a really bone-aching level of exhaustion that goes with just keeping going, just keeping yourself on an even keel, just getting yourself out of bed in the morning. And today, I think all of us are really feeling it, even the kids who have been incredibly adaptable in this whole scenario. I mean, some of it is physical, because actually I've just checked my TomTom, and for the month of April, we've actually, it's a combined running and walking total of me and the kids and the 4 dogs of 260 kilometres. So yeah, we do go out for our walk in the morning, because there's something about Mother Nature and the countryside and the fresh air that clears our head, and the kids say the same as well. It clears our head, and it kind of energizes us and enables us to face the day ahead. But I've definitely noticed these last few days it's got harder and harder and harder, and I open my eyes in the morning and I just think, oh shit. And what I've done is I've split things down into small steps. So rather than thinking about this massive day in front of me, and do you know what, things aren't really comparable, so my challenges are very different to somebody else's, because I've got 3 kids being homeschooled. So actually, I'm finding some of my challenges are around taking some time for myself, not having 3,000 jobs to do, the just the housework, the cleaning, the washing, the constant making of meals, and all the rest of it. And all of my kids help. They change their own beds, they hoover their own bedrooms, they tidy up after dinner, they help with the meal preparation. It's just the reality of 5 people being in one house in an enclosed space, brings with it a certain level of work, and also it brings with it a real feeling of struggling for your own space and quiet time. And particularly for somebody like me, I guess, I personally, I think we're all creative. Okay, I don't think anybody isn't creative. I don't think it matters what you do, you can do everything creatively. But I guess particularly because I tend to write a lot as my job, it's been really difficult to find that space that I need to be able to do that. And that kind of starves my soul a little bit as well, which is actually what I think contributes to the exhaustion. And silly things like, not being able to go to the lake for a swim, not being able to actually be in the room with my yoga teacher, the physical distancing, I think is fine. I think what I really miss is the social element. So I don't necessarily agree with us calling it social distancing. I think it's physical distancing. Physically, we need to keep a certain distance from other people. But, socially and mentally and emotionally and intellectually, I think we need to be more connected now than ever. And I just really miss that, I really just miss seeing people. And I don't know if anybody else does find it, but I do Zoom calls, but I really have to restrict the number that I do, because God, they're really exhausting. And I think there's some research that's gone into it that shows, you know, the level of concentration that you have to apply, because you know, you can't use your kind of instinct and intuition so much, because you're not actually physically, your energy's not in the same space together. And I guess I'm coming around to the feeling, if I'm really honest, we've always known that lockdown isn't a long-term sustainable strategy. And I'm definitely feeling it, as are the kids. In actual fact, I've said to them, look, you know, get your week's schoolwork done today. They're really good. They stay on top of their timetable really well. Work a little bit longer this afternoon to get tomorrow's work out the way as well. And actually, let's just have a long weekend. And let's not have to get up in the morning. And, you know, if you want to veg all day and binge watch Netflix or go on your PS4 or whatever, then that's fine. And you don't have to do, you know, the long walk with me or the run in the morning, because I could see today they were bone tired. And there is something happening to us both mentally and physically while we're in this lockdown. And it's not a sustainable long-term strategy. My gut feeling is that the horse has bolted here. You know, that virus is out there. And I look at the figures and I just go, you know, I mean, I'm a performance management specialist. You know, I've used figures all my life to tell stories, and those figures are not telling us the story we need to know. We don't actually know how many people in totality have been infected with this virus. So actually, we really don't have any idea of the mortality rate. And of the mortalities that we do know about, you know, these figures are just presented absolute, and the context is missing. So I don't know, in terms of the number of deaths, what percentage is that higher than what we would normally expect? And of the percentage of deaths that we've got, how many are actually due to purely the virus, and how many are due to the virus complicating an already either, you know, potentially life-threatening condition? And it's really important in terms of managing people's anxiety, their fear, their expectations, the exit strategy. I talk about this exit strategy, you know, I'm not sure it's an exit strategy. I think it's more of a transitional strategy we're after. But it's really important to understand figures in context, because otherwise you can really spread a lot of fear and angst and discord. And yeah, I'm not sure we've got our head around the figures at all. We have no idea how many people have actually had this virus. Therefore, we have no idea what our mortality rate and therefore what the level of risk is. And the other thing that's starting to really worry me is we talk about vulnerable people, but we're actually only talking about one part of vulnerability. We're talking about the people who are vulnerable and susceptible from a health perspective to the virus. There's lots and lots of vulnerable people in our society and in the world at large, for many different reasons, whether that be because they already have a critical illness, because they've got a critical illness and it hasn't been diagnosed, because they haven't been able to access the services, because they're suffering from depression, or because they're suffering from anxiety, or because actually they're about to now go into a severe period of poverty because they're not able to afford any money. You know, the people who are already on the breadline may well be pushed over it. You know, what is it going to do to our homeless statistics? You know, what about the people who are already struggling to put a roof over their heads and the food on the table? There's, you know, the people who are in abusive relationships, whether that be physically or mentally abusive, and where do they go and what do they do? And all of this stuff has to be brought into play. And we really do need to, in my personal opinion, start very, you know, in a very real sense, dealing with what this transition strategy is, because staying in this lockdown is not sustainable. And I think we are now at real risk of causing a whole stack of new casualties and deaths from a whole stack of different reasons, not just because of the virus. You know, this thing's kind of running away with itself. And I do wonder whether we really have to find a way to live alongside this beast. The horse has bolted, it is out there. We are going to have to find a way to live alongside this beast. Yeah, and that's just me sharing my honest views, raw and unfiltered. And, you know, doing, I guess, what everybody else is doing, just our very best to get through this in the best way we can. But you know what? It's fucking hard. And there's no point trying to dress that up. Sending everybody lots of love. Take care. Bye.